Hey guys, it's M4J here and welcome back to Railroads Online. Now, last time out we connected properly up to the logging camp and we delivered our first set of logs down to the freight depot. All very nice, very good. Now today I want to get the sawmill involved in the equation and actually have a line finally that links the logging camp to the sawmill via the freight depot. Now obviously we've got the first half of that done from the logging camp to the freight depot. Now we've got to do the sawmill. That bit should be pretty straightforward. We just got to take the little spur that we had, or at least some of the little spur that we had, some of the permanent way left over, and connect it up to the sawmill via a new set of points that I haven't yet built. Before I did that though, I wanted to get the yard here at the freight depot in a bit of a better condition, bit of a better state. Basically, I want to do a lot of shunting here and store a lot of wagons that I'm not currently using. Things like the hoppers, the tanks, you know, stuff like that. And I thought the best way to do that would be to have like a little marshalling yard. Now this side, the marshalling yard is going to be quite small. The other side, I imagine it's going to be a little bit bigger. Reason being there's more space on the other side. Obviously, this side we've got the, I don't really know what you'd call them on the right-hand side there, the storage tracks, that kind of thing. So I didn't want to intrude on that, which you'll see me do in a second here. I try and build a turntable here for loco turning. I think that's going to have to go on the other side, which is going to be a bit of a pain. I could potentially do it on the way out and have one turntable on each side. You can see here it doesn't quite fit in the gap, so we abandoned that idea. But yeah, I've tested this. You'll see me test the run round loop in a sec when we go and collect some more logs, and it actually works really, really well. Track laying is not my forte here, as you can see. I kind of have to go from both directions in order to get track that actually connects up properly and looks nice. So you see, again, take number 3, I think, here. And you'll see this a lot throughout this episode. I'll build some track and then I'll look at it from a different angle and I think, oh, actually that could be better. And then I'll go back in and correct that. It's going to be part and parcel of the game, I imagine, trying to get all this to work. But if it does work, great. If it doesn't, then we just go back to the drawing board. It's not the end of the world. Even that little bit there I just placed doesn't actually look that great. I might have to go and fix that if I haven't done so already. But yeah, we got these crossovers. We got storage sidings now. Potentially we've got like turning facilities and stuff like that for locos. Things are looking really, really good. Which is where we now go to the second part of the video, which is building the line down to the sawmill. So starting off here, this is where the main line to the logging camp continues straight on. And this line here to the sawmill diverges off. Now there's that bridge that we built a little while ago. That I wanted to use for the sawmill line. What I hadn't realised was just how close we actually were to the sawmill when I built that. So it doesn't quite work as intended. And you can see we're building over the existing line from episode 1, I believe that is. Less said about that, the better, I would say. But yeah, it doesn't quite work as intended. So I have to kind of spend a lot of time. I think I spent like 20 to 30 minutes just on one particular bit of track, this corner in fact, that you see me build here, because what I didn't realise was the gap between the legs on the bridge here wasn't as big as I thought it was. I thought it was double the width that it actually is. You've basically got enough room for maybe a double track that is directly perpendicular to the direction of the bridge, which is not that convenient. So I end up building backwards from the sawmill. And then we have to dive down under the bridge, and then we have to lift up again to join the original alignment of the railway. And as you can see here, it was quite difficult to do that. I think in future, I'm going to build a second line from just before the bridge that actually connects up to the log drop-off side of the sawmill, and then maybe we'll do like some shunting maneuvers to get it to the other side, the pickup side, as it were. Because it's mildly inconvenient, shall we say, to actually try and get this to work. It does work, though. Again, you'll see me test it a little bit later on in this video. But would I have done this differently? Probably. I think I would have built this line first and then built the logging camp line over the top. But, you know, I just wanted to get some money rolling in. which we now have, thankfully. And we could potentially start looking at either another locomotive or some more wagons. I think for me personally, another loco would be nice, because there's nothing wrong with Betsy, but I think Betsy is definitely a shunter and not a carrier. So having something that I can do some better shunting with would be nice. Also, this corner here. So this little, I thought it would be like a nice little S-bend from this set of points here over to the log drop-off. This has to be the hardest part of any video I think I've ever made. Trying to get this track to actually work and look nice. You can see there, like, we got these really weird janky bits of track where, because it's all on a spline system, it kind of bends and manipulates as you place it. But if you place a really short first section, which is what I like to do, you always have to build a straight bit first, and then you can start building the curves. And in doing that, I end up with this really weird, like, jagged bit of track if you build it really short coming out of the whatever it is you're building it from. It just doesn't look very nice, basically. So we had to go back and redo that. And then you can see here, trying to get this to connect up with the points. That's the other thing. It technically connects, and I say that in inverted commas. That little bit that I built there, it was technically connected to the points, but there's no way that a loco would ever be able to run over it. So, not great. Also, because I wanted to build a run-round loop here as well, I decided I'd build the points first and use that as a surrogate curve for the last little section before it lines up straight. Actually, that kind of helped me out quite a lot. That worked quite well. Again, technically connected, but not. Like I said, you'll see this working. You'll see it does function as a railway line. The train runs over it. Betsy has no problems whatsoever. But it's not something you would take at a relatively high speed, which, considering this is a narrow gauge line, you shouldn't be taking it at a high speed anyway, but you know what I mean. It's a bit of a pain trying to just get it to work. Yeah, I'm kind of losing track of my thoughts here as well. I had a late night last night trying to get this recorded. I'm recording this on the voiceover for this, by the way. I'm recording this on the Tuesday, so the day before you're seeing this. And it's kind of late in the evening here as well, so you'll have to bear with me if I just lose my train of thought, if you'll pardon the pun as well. Oh god, this bit, just all of this track laying in this game is satisfying when you get it right, and arduous when you get it wrong. And right now I get it wrong a lot more than I get it right, but it does mean when you do get it right, it tastes so sweet. These gradual curves here aren't too bad, but then you see I've got a sudden curve there. So I rebuild this, like change the alignment of the points basically, and that makes my life easier. We also have this weird thing coming up here where the track suddenly just drops down. I think you'll see that in a second. Oh yeah, this curve went all wrong as well. Or did it? Maybe it didn't. Actually, that might end up being what ends up staying. But yeah, you see there, we got this weird like up-down bit. No idea how that happened either. So we rebuild that. I think now we fix that problem. We'll have to see. But it's such a pain in the arse. Honestly, track laying in this game is such a pain in the arse. And it's a fun game. Do not get me wrong. It's a very fun game. I enjoy it a lot. Driving the trains back and forth is very satisfying. The graphics are amazing. Hopefully that comes across in this video. The sound is good. Everything about this game is really well done. Except the track laying, which just seems to be an absolute pain. And oh yeah, this little section. So I was trying to build a tight curve here so that trains can leave from here and head towards the smelter, I think it is, in that direction. Wasn't really working for me. Now, I've not given up on this idea yet, but right now it's not a priority. So I have sort of abandoned ship on this a little bit, and instead we build a run-round loop and a turntable. And I think you'll see me change those points in a second as well. Because the turntable... In fact, what do I? Or maybe I just build a curved bit of track. But the turntable is climbing up a hill there. And I wanted it to be... in fact, yeah, I do change the alignment slightly. You see, I caught this early this time. I wanted the turntable to be raised, but not go uphill. So you'll see here I've changed the way the points face here. And then we're going to build this little up ramp like that. build the track to the top, and then we connect a turntable to it. And that's kind of how I've built all of my turntables. They're all elevated. And this one was actually quite good because I can build the track on this side relatively flat, and it fits quite nicely. So now we've got the fun task, which is actually driving the train to and from the logging camp, and then obviously up to the sawmill. Now this part here, you'll see you'll notice that I've started just after the divergence where the sawmill line branches off. That wasn't meant to be the plan. I was meant to show you the whole journey, or at least parts of the journey, like an abridged version. But I forgot to enable sound on the recording, so yeah, that was a dumb moment. So I had to go back and enable sound again. Obviously, when I record time lapses, I do record an audio track, but it's a muted audio track because you can't record an MP4 with no audio track. There probably is a way to record video without an audio track, but it's not worth something. It's not worth risking my OBS settings to do, to be honest. So yeah, enable the audio, and we start the journey up to the logging camp once again. Now, I've seen videos of people playing this game, as I've said in the past, and other journeys later in the game do seem to take quite a long time, particularly when you're climbing up through the mountains and things like that. It's not an easy and quick journey. But for some reason, when I was watching other people play this game, I always got the impression that the journey from the freight depot to the logging camp was also a long one. And I guess because it took me such a long time to build the track in the first episode, I just felt like it was a really long journey. And yet you'll see here, it doesn't really take that long. It takes like a minute, maybe two, to do the entire journey from start to finish. And I've got several clips after this as well of like running around the train and things like that. And it's actually not that long to do. So kind of happy with that. Driving trains is something that I enjoy doing in small bursts, but not over long periods of time. So it's nice to see that it isn't actually that intensive after all. That track down there, by the way, I'm debating what to do with that, because I like the bridge that I've got here, and I thought that line would be useful to access maybe the other side of the logging camp. So right now this line here goes to the right hand side, and I was going to build something that goes to the left hand side. That could still end up being the case, but I don't know how easy that will be to do. Everyone knows I like building railways that kind of cross over themselves and switch around and all sorts of things like that. So it's plausible we could potentially do something like that. We'll see what happens. But yeah, we're approaching the logging camp now. We come over the trestle bridge, which looks absolutely beautiful. And then onto the stone wall, which is still nice in its own way, I suppose, but not as nice. And then through the points and into the logging camp. Notice I'm saying logging camp all the time now and not just sawmill. Now, we've got 3 wagons here and there's 2 cranes. So I skip loading the first 2 wagons. You'll see in a second when the train stops, it cuts to me just loading up the last wagon ready for the return journey. I can't remember if I built the turntable in the background there on camera or not, but there's a turntable there too. Every station, I think, is going to end up having a turntable. It's nice seeing some locos running in reverse. Here's the final wagon being loaded up. It's nice seeing locos run in reverse from time to time, but I think for some of them, it makes more sense to have them running forwards at all times. So Betsy, you'll see in a second, Betsy runs backwards, back to the freight depot. But some of the bigger locos in the future, I just wanted to add the turntables in now before they become part of the budget, as it were. While they're free to build, I might as well build them. And then you'll see in the future, when the bigger locos come to play, that those turntables are very valuable indeed. Also, right now when I'm recording this, I've got the volume turned up on the background audio. Obviously I will turn it down for the final video, but if you're hearing like an echo noise, it's probably because I haven't turned it down enough for it not to be picked up by my microphone right now. So that's on me. Here's Betsy running around them using the run round loop here at the logging camp, which I still think I'm going to rebuild so that it runs behind those buildings and not in front. But that's something... Actually, just looking at that angle, I don't even know if I can do that unless I start... if I build the points on the wall instead. I don't know if that's actually going to be possible. So we might have to leave it, which I guess isn't the worst thing to do. I don't know. Oh, maybe it's possible. Maybe it's possible. Maybe the angle was just a bit weird. But yeah, adding the link pin and everything here. I have a rule right now, which is facing the logging camp. We don't put a link on. We just put the pin when the carriages or the locos are connected. So effectively, the back end of each wagon / loco will have a link added, and the front end is pin only. That seems to be a good way right now, at least, of remembering what's got what. When we start building triangular junctions and things, it might become a little bit more complicated to keep track. But right now, you know, it's a good way of remembering. It means everything can be coupled to everything, basically, because they're all facing the same direction. They've all got the same number of links and pins in each point. And it just makes my life easier, to be honest. Right, here comes Betsy then coupling up, and then we're going to head off back to the freight depot. Now, I'm not going to show you the entire journey to the freight depot. I'm just going to show you a couple of small sections. We're then going to get back to the freight depot and run around the train, and then I believe I show you the whole run up to the sawmill from the points on the main line to us actually stopping at the sawmill. There's a little bit of a cut because I had to change some points up at the sawmill, but otherwise it's pretty much the full journey. There's the link pin connected, and then we hop back into Betsy, and now we journey back to the freight depot. Now, although I liked the idea of having everything go through the freight depot, I was a little bit worried that it would add significantly to the journey times. I'm very pleased to report, however, that's not necessarily the case. I don't think it took us any longer to go to the freight depot, run around, and then head up to the sawmill, as it would to somehow try and find a way to the sawmill. Now, I think the game intends for you to be able to run straight from the logging camp to the sawmill. And that's why we had problems connecting up to the freight depot. Obviously that, and the fact that we're probably not supposed to go down to ground level and back up again. I think the smarter thing would have been to have this line at the lower level and have the sawmill line go above. And that might be something I end up doing in the future. Just so we haven't got this ridiculous slope, which you'll see there on the left hand side of your screen. That's a really ridiculous slope. And also the fact that it slopes on both sides. It's effectively, you know, on Transport Fever when you build a road and then you press like the N key to make it dip down in the middle. We've basically done that with a railway, which you're not really supposed to do. Even though this is like a logging railway and it's not exactly built the same as a standard gauge railway, it's still not really the done thing. So, oopsie on my part there. Oh yeah, and this is what happens when your train runs out of fuel. So I let the train run out of fuel. I let Betsy run out of fuel, knowing that we still had boiler pressure. But then I had to stop to change the points behind us so that when we headed back up towards the sawmill, we would already have the right of way set. And in doing so, I couldn't get the train started again because we had no fuel and therefore no boiler pressure. This is after I got fuel back into the boiler, or to the firebox, I should say, and then the heat going into the boiler. I know how steam locos work, honest. We do arrive here at the freight depot. Now, the temptation was to start selling some logs again, but I thought, nope, I want to see how much we get from the sawmill, although I already know that answer. And I want to have a full train delivered to the sawmill. Now, again, when I was actually building these loops and run rounds and stuff, oh, I love that whistle. I was worried about, would I have enough room to put a 3-wagon long train? As you can see, I could probably fit like 6, maybe even 7 wagons in this first loop here, into this main siding, without any issues whatsoever. And I think that's a good thing, in all honesty. It means I can actually fit longer trains in. So eventually, like I said, when we upgrade to the bigger locos, we can still run big heavy trains and not have to rebuild much of the infrastructure. Here's the junction then. As I said before, we diverge from the main line. I'm going to keep calling it the main line. It's going to be the logging line eventually. And this is the sawmill line, obviously. Again, love that whistle. And then we start dropping down slightly to head underneath the line to our right. Again, this could have just been swapped over. I didn't have to build it like this. I could have even just gone directly right here and then round. Because I think there's like a back way into the sawmill if you go immediately right here. I could have just done that. Chose not to. Chose to do it this way instead. I think this is more photogenic, even if it isn't more practical. And if it wasn't for that hill on the left, I would have had no problems getting under this bridge coming up on the right. It's only because I had to curve sharply, and you can see here we're kind of going up and down a little bit. And then at this point here we start sloping down and to the right. That's what made it difficult. If it wasn't for that, it would have been a lot easier, believe me. So here we go then under the bridge. There's a little section here where I thought, am I about to derail? Betsy herself is fine, but the wagons there, particularly the one at the front and the one at the back, they really looked shaky there. The track itself is quite janky still, so that in terms of realism, I think that's pretty much on point. But in terms of stability, not so much. And then we got this section here where we actually run into the sawmill. So you can see that, again, this S-bend thing is a little bit weird, but it does work. It's a pretty smooth ride, all things considered. And then we run into the delivery loop line. And we stop right here at the edge of the lake. Now, I read some tips on YouTube, I think it was, on Blue Wizard's videos, where someone said using the bridge deck track gives you the perfect distance to loading and unloading. And I thought I'd try it out here, and it actually, first of all, it looks really awesome, and second of all, it works. So I'd say definitely a good thing. But yeah, that's it for this episode, guys. We sell the logs, we make the money. I don't think we've got enough for a loco actually looking at it, but oh well. But yeah, that is it for this episode, guys. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. And of course, if you're enjoying the series so far, drop those comments down below. Ideas for future episodes, feedback on the current episodes. All that stuff is very much appreciated. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. And until next time, I will see you soon.